my mind here?
Can I leave? Just please, just for a moment.
Are you serious?
It looks like a dramatic moment is coming between Katie and Greg in next week's episode of The Bachelorette. Hey guys, welcome back to another shared news from home. We know something big is coming between Katie and Greg. We are going to break down everything we know to try to figure out what is going on. But before we get into it, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring, and I'm joined by the wonderful Gabby Gonta. Gabby, Greg has literally been a front runner since night one. I feel like we've been saying for weeks that it seems like it's going to come down to Blake versus Greg. So far in the season, how have you felt about Greg? Have you been rooting for him? Do you think they have the strongest connections? What are your thoughts?
Yes, I am 1000% Team Greg. Since night one, I've only fallen in love with him even more as the weeks have gone by. I think him and Katie are just so cute together. And it does pain me to see, some of the theories about how he might not be genuine. I'm like ignoring those because I really want it to be Greg. But I'm also, trying to ignore the fact that it might not work out with them, which some of these clips might suggest. So we're going to have to, do some digging here and get into it. But I'm excited to see what does go down between them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally with you. I have loved Greg since the very beginning. I think their connection has been growing week to week to week. The only thing we've seen from him is some personal struggles, right? With dealing with the fact that she's, of course, exploring connections with other guys. But so far, she's been giving him reassurance and they've been able to make it through. So it's really these promo clips that are throwing us for a loop. And it seems like you're right. Maybe it doesn't actually work out in the end. Let's take a look at everything they've been teasing us with so far, starting with a clip that we have seen for some weeks now in these trailers. And it does look like we're finally going to get to see it play out next week. Let's watch this.
Just please, just a moment.
Are you serious?
So I remember when we first saw that clip of Greg storming off in the courtyard, wondering if it was creative editing, right? Like, is that actually going to be a Greg and Katie moment, or is it related to something going on between the two of them? Based on the outfits they're wearing in these clips and other clips that we'll get into, it seems like it is related. They are together. So Gabby, do you think Greg is storming away from Katie? Is Katie storming away from Greg? Could there be a disagreement? Like, what do you interpret from this moment?
Those are all really good questions, Fiona. It's hard to tell at this point. Like you said, definitely, they must have had a conversation and then this happened. But I don't know because it seems like in just those clips we just watched, they're kind of like maybe it was a fight and now they're dispersing and kind of storming off in their own direction, not necessarily like going after each other. But it could also look like Katie's going after Greg because maybe he's really upset about something and kind of just wants to talk it out a little bit more. And this is just like so interesting because we haven't seen this side of Greg yet. We've talked about the fact that he's like pretty shy, seems a little bit more reserved. So if he really has a blowout moment where, he's storming out and Katie kind of has to chase after him to get his attention, something big must have happened or something must have really switched between the two of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, based on the edit they've given Greg, he almost seems like soft-spoken and nervous. So to have this really intense side coming out this week is definitely going to be very interesting. In this next clip, we see Katie wearing that same, it's like a deep blue V-neck, long sleeve, and she's really upset. So let's pay close attention to what she says here.
Losing my mind here?
I just don't know what to believe in anymore.
So she feels like she's losing her mind. Okay, that makes me feel like maybe she's shocked by something. And then that line, she doesn't know what to believe in anymore. After Michael A's exit, do we feel like now suddenly Greg could let her down and that's going to lead her to this dark place? What are your thoughts, Gabby?
Yeah, that's a really great point. I think she was super shocked by Michael A leaving, last week. So that probably still stings a little bit and then probably gave her the new thoughts and feelings that, okay, maybe our connection, my connection with some of these other guys who are front runners who I'm really excited about, really think I could have a future with, aren't as strong, or maybe they're going to get cold feet or have, other reasons that they need to leave. And I think since the beginning, she's asked Greg, like, I'm afraid you're going to leave. Like, she's said that multiple times because he just seems like almost too good to be true, or like that he is super nervous and kind of wary and not confident in his feelings. So I think that has been her biggest fear with Greg since the beginning. And like you said, she's had to keep reassuring him, this is a tough process, but like, I really want you here. I'm falling for you. Like, I'm pretty sure she's said all of that. So this really could be her biggest fears coming to light. But what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, Greg has clearly, obviously, there's only so much time in each week, right? For them to show us what's going on between all of these different connections. But clearly, Katie has picked up on the fact that Greg needs reassurance because he is the only guy so far to have gotten that second one-on-one date. And it was on that date that she says to him, I feel like you're going to leave. So she, I think, is going above and beyond to really try to make this work for him, to try to make this work for them. And now to see this huge blow up looming about, we're not sure what, right? Is it Greg that's upset? Is it Katie that's upset? Does he let her down? Does she upset him? Like, where are these emotions suddenly coming from? Because it does feel like she's really done everything in her power so far to make this process work for him. So it's going to be really interesting to see how all of this plays out. What's really interesting, you guys, is during the Men Tell All, we actually saw a clip from the bloopers. And it's a really funny moment, right? Like, normally I don't think we would be investigating it so closely, but if you pay attention, Katie and Greg are wearing these same outfits from these dramatic moments in this clip. So let's take a look at what they showed us in the blooper reel. So, all right, I remember watching this and being like, oh my God, how funny. Like, the camera's in her face, like the producer falls over there or the cameraman falls over there. Like, how awkward. But let's really pay attention to what's going on here, Gabby, because we see Greg honestly looking kind of upset in that same outfit. Yeah. And we see Katie in that same long sleeve that we've seen her cry in, that we see her storm off in. I mean, this really seems like it's going to be a serious conversation between the two of them sitting down in her room. And I'm curious, Gabby, do you think this is after those blow-up moments that we've seen, maybe them trying to sit down and rehash it out again? Or could this be the conversation that leads to the blow-up? What do you think?
Yeah, I really think this is how everything starts. I feel like Greg is having some doubts and then goes to talk to Katie personally. And this is kind of the catalyst for them storming out and having this blow up moment. My theory, I'm just going to like throw something out there. I think that Greg might be having those jealous feelings, having some doubts. And since it's so close to the end, I'm assuming this is after hometowns because I think we see some clips of Katie meeting Greg's family and they look all happy and like that probably goes super well. So if this is after hometowns, maybe before fantasy suites or just somewhere in that timeline, then I really think Greg feels like he is one of the front runners, strong connection that him and Katie could make it. But because of his, feelings of jealousy are really getting in the way, I feel like maybe he goes to her room, sits her down and kind of gives her an ultimatum. Like, if you want me, like you really do, like you say you do, then like drop all the other guys right now, because otherwise, how can I trust you? How can I trust that this is real? And blah, blah, blah. So maybe that doesn't happen, but I feel like that might be something that happens, that we see a little bit of a stronger side to Greg. And that's maybe why he gets upset, because she can't, maybe do that in that moment. But that's just my current theory. We'll see what happens. What do you think, Fiona?
No, I think you could definitely be onto something, because the only thing that we have seen teases of in the edit that actually kind of upsets Greg is her relationships with the other guys. In these recent promos, we see him getting really upset, of course, over her and Blake. I mean, it feels like for him, he does care about Katie, but he is not all in on this process. He is not convinced about the process. I think it's much harder on him than he thought it was going to be. So I think you could really be onto something there with him saying, like, you just met my family. Like, if it's me, it's me. Like, no more nonsense. I don't like the idea of you going and being overnight with other guys. Like, it all might just be too much for him. We do have a one-liner from Greg in this next clip that could give us some more insight, so let's watch this as well.
I don't know what she's thinking, but something isn't right.
So Gabby, here we have Greg not sure what Katie's thinking. So is he maybe just confused by what's going on between them, and that's what leads to this? It feels more likely to me that he's going to be confused with what's going on than actively like angry at Katie for something. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's probably really confusing for him right now because obviously Katie's not going to share with him everything going on with Blake or the other guys because just, to be sensitive and not explain all of that. So then the other guys are in the dark about how good of a connection they have compared to the other guys. Everyone always thinks they have the best connection because they don't see the other side of it. So I feel like he feels like he's in the dark a lot, and maybe we see this little confessional and then that's why he's like, I don't know what she's thinking, so I'm going to go to her room and figure it out, and that's another reason all of this kind of starts.
Listen, I totally agree with everything you said, Gabby. And in this next clip, it seems like maybe Greg is talking to the guys, and he's also pretty upset in this conversation as well. Let's watch this clip.
Who cares about the rose or who's getting sent home this week? If it's not real, it's not real.
So, who cares about the rose? Who cares about getting sent home? If it's not real, it's not real. I mean, everyone cares about that rose, right? That is like so important. That's why they're all there. So it feels like for him to get worked up into a place where he says, if it's not real, it's not real. That kind of can go through with our theory that it's sort of all stemming from some massive insecurities he's having. What are your thoughts, Gabby?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I feel like at this point in the show, after so many weeks of doing the same thing over and over again and hoping it's real, but not really, trying to, when you're starting to think about what reality would be like outside of the show, it might all feel like it's such a bachelor dreamland and like maybe this isn't real, because their connections are just like so accelerated, very different probably than any other relationship Greg has had and everything like that. So he's probably just like going crazy in his own brain, right? But I also want to point out that it does seem like he is maybe talking to the guys here because he's talking about getting roses and things like that. But now that I look at this closer, it looks like behind him are like the same dining room chairs as when he's walking into Katie's room. Am I crazy?
No,
If we
you
like
could
go
really
back
be
to
onto something.
if we go back to the blooper clip, there's like it seems like the same dining room chairs. And then maybe if he's sitting on the couch, then
Oh yeah,
those
Gabby,
would
you're
technically
totally
be
right.
behind him. And it is the same outfit, which is a whole nother thing to talk about because he seems very upset if he is talking to Katie in that moment. If you're getting a rose or just the whole process of The Bachelor, if it's not real and all of that. So I think that kind of changes it a little bit. And I'm curious, how Katie reacts to that.
Yeah, no, Gabby, that is an amazing catch. Definitely deserve an award for your detective skills there because I feel like they made it seem like tone-wise and it's a different angle of Greg that maybe he's talking to the guys, maybe he's talking to even Caitlin or Tayshia, but those are undeniably the same chairs. So that would have to mean that he's either in Katie's room without Katie, which would be a little weird, or that he's saying that to her. And I think that really does put all of this into a different perspective because he's sort of almost accusing her of if potentially their connection or another connection she's having isn't real, then why is she stringing him along? Why is she stringing somebody else along? So
Yeah.
definitely starting to look at this through another lens here. And that could explain why in this next clip that we have seen before, Katie is so upset. Let's watch this one again.
I am done. I am done. I am done. This is
So that is another moment that they have been teasing us with for a while now. But listen, I'm starting to I don't know, maybe it's like full conspiracy. We're diving too deep, but could Greg come in there and accuse her of not having real connections with him or real connections with some of the guys and it's her that storms out? I mean, I don't even know how to process this, Gabby, but we know it's the same outfit, same location. What are you thinking?
No, I think that might be exactly what happens, which is kind of shocking right now because we don't know the full context, but all the clues are here and it really is seeming to lead up to that. Yeah, we've been seeing this for a while. I honestly didn't think it was going to be something that Greg ended up, creating, but it does seem like it. And I don't know, maybe he is just like questioning her integrity about, of course, she's the bachelorette and kind of has to go through these formalities and these steps, but he could really be, calling her out. Like, just if you know who you want to be with, just like pick them. Don't, go through the motions and stuff like that. So that might be why she's a little upset.
Yeah, he could be saying, like, if you really see a future for us, then what are we doing? Like, if the future you see is real enough for me to stick around, then why isn't it real enough for us to just end this charade? It's very, very interesting. Certainly feels like Greg did not know what he was getting himself into with going on a show like this. Okay, this next clip is another one that they gave to us this week. And it is, of course, it looks like Katie has maybe locked herself in a room. She doesn't want to talk to anybody. And Caitlyn finally is able to come in and have a heart-to-heart with her. So presumably she storms off here and ends up, in a room somewhere. Or maybe this clip is completely unrelated. We don't see Katie, right? So we don't know what she's wearing in this next moment. But it does feel probably related to all of this. Let's watch it again.
It's Caitlin. Do you want to talk to me?
I just feel like I went through this whole time telling myself it'll be worth it. And all of a sudden it's like blowing up in my face.
So from the first moment we saw this clip, Gabby, I could not imagine like what would get her to this place where she's very seriously saying she wants to end it all and go home.
So what do you want to happen?
I want someone to book my flight home.
But now I'm kind of starting to feel like it's making a little more sense. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think my initial thought would be that she's kind of, at first she had so many, amazing guys that she couldn't decide which one to do. And now they're kind of like dropping like flies left and right. Michael A went home because of his son, she kind of had to accept that. Maybe Greg comes out and says, if you don't choose me now, I'm leaving. He might be gone. I know her and Justin like don't really have that strong of a connection, so he's probably not on the top of her list. And then that would leave Blake, but it seems like in the last few promos that he is maybe not, he said, oh, I don't love you, or I'm not quite there yet. So maybe he is not as committed to her as she wants, even though they are kind of like the next best match. So it could be that, all the pieces to the puzzle, everything she thought she had was kind of slipping through her fingers, and that would make it seem like she kind of doesn't have anything left and would make her want to just kind of give up. What do you think?
I think you're really onto something. I really do, because we've seen in other promos, like you mentioned, Blake's family urging him to get there, urging him to tell her how she feels and, really let her know, saying to him, like, what if somebody else does it first? But if deep down he's not ready, I don't think he wants to tell her, oh, I'm falling in love with you, if he's not. So if Blake's hometown results in her feeling like he's not there yet, Justin's hometown ends up with her feeling like, all right, I don't really think this is going to be it, buddy. And Greg's hometown is what sparks this crazy blow up between them. I would want to go home too. So I don't know. We had such high hopes for how Katie's season was going to end, and now all of a sudden it feels like it all could be crumbling. Gabby, obviously this is going to be huge, right? One way or another, something really, really dramatic is coming between Katie and Greg. I guess the question is, do you think that he bounces back from this? Does she bounce back from this? Like, is the only option here that he's sending himself home or she's sending him home and there's no real future? Or could they somehow find a way to get past this? What do you think?
I'm really hoping they do, but I don't know. It's not looking good. I really feel like Greg's not going to be able to handle it, especially if Katie and Blake are really progressing. Like, I think it's more of a chance that Blake's going to just kind of man up and tell her that he loves her and, they're going to work out rather than Greg, bouncing back from this and it being them. That's what I think is probably going to happen.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. So with all of that being said, I guess the big question here is, do we just think that if she's getting engaged, it's gotta be with Blake? Like, is that our final prediction based on what we've seen? Like, are we confident that he must just be the winner?
I am not confident, but it does seem like that is where all the paths are leading right now. Of course, the producers could throw something totally different at us at the end, like maybe Michael A comes back. he was such a front runner, or maybe Andrew S. He said he would always be waiting. So unless something big and crazy like that happens, then I do think it's going to be Blake.
Yeah, Gabby, it certainly seems like Katie's season is headed in a very specific direction. Obviously, something huge is going on between Katie and Greg next week. We have been keeping our eye on these locations, these outfits, all of these little pieces, and it's certainly starting to paint a pretty clear picture. You guys, this is going to be a very pivotal week for Katie no matter what happens. We, of course, want to know your thoughts on everything we just investigated. What have you guys noticed from these clips? What do you think is going to happen? Let us know down in the comments. And of course, if you're not already subscribed to our channel, make sure you do. Make sure you ring the bell because we will be keeping you updated on all things Katie. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring, joined by the wonderful Gabby Ganta. If you want to come say hi, check out our socials. They're on the screen right now. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.